All right, so we'll be going over Linux today. So this is a picture of Tux. He's the penguin, and the emblem for Linux. We'll be going over the file structure system using the command prompt. We will go over some common commands. There's no way we can go over everything. That's not the point of this, but hopefully just enough so that you're able to navigate the system a little bit and do at least some preliminary things here. We'll talk about wildcard characters, which will greatly simplify your life, especially if you're able to master them and use them efficiently. Talk about some shortcuts as well, which can really simplify your life. We'll talk about the text editor that is pretty standard across different machines, although it's not always the easiest to use. We'll talk about some helpful hints and then some other commands just in case you need more or want more. So oftentimes as and helping people get started with Linux, their question is why? Why are you making me learn this whole new system? And a lot of people get comfortable with being able to point and click in the Windows type environment. And so why would you ever want to do things at the command line? There are actually a lot of really good reasons to use a Linux box. Specifically in terms of performance, flexibility. So as we're using FreeSurfer, if you're able to interact on the command line, you can modify the scripts. You can have it start and stop at different places, or you just have more control over what the program does for you. It's also the Linux operating system does tend to be more stable than Windows, more secure, which is always a good thing. And of course, it's fun. This is the item that some people raise their eyebrows, especially at first, because it may not seem fun as you're trying to learn to do by commands what you're used to just being able to do by pointing and clicking. But hopefully it does get to the point where this is fun as well. With the file structure, oftentimes it's helpful, when you're just building your file structure, or if you're becoming oriented to a new file structure, to kind of map out where things are. So you can think of it kind of like a Windows format, in that there are folders and then there are subfolders and subfolders within that. In Linux, we call them directories. And at the very top of this file structure is root. And so that's represented here by this slash. So everything is contained within the root folder or the root directory. So root also owns everything. So this user directory, the bin directory, UD, lib, and so forth, these are all subdirectories within the root directory there at the very top. And as you're building your file structure, these directories will likely have different names. You're able to create your own directories, name them in a manner that makes most sense to you. But this is just an example of if you were to map it out, what a file structure might look like. And then this is an example of what a command prompt may look like. Yours may look different depending on the machine and the setup that you have. For some of them, the background is white and then the text is black, or the text may be colored as shown here, which actually represents the type of files and directories that are present. So for example, in this one, the names in white are text files. The ones in blue are directories. We have a couple of green files that are executable files that you could actually run them like little programs. And then the red is an example of an archive file. So it just helps to be able to know at a glance what are the contents in this directory. And then shown here at the bottom, this is actually the command prompt where you enter in commands. And at the command prompt, you'll enter commands to move around in the directory structure. So in the Windows environment, you might point and click on different directories to go into them and see what the contents are there. In this system, you actually will enter a command to move to work in a different subdirectory. You can execute programs directly from the command prompt, from the command line. You can create text files. You can check to see the status of processes that are running. You can connect to remote machines and so forth. So there's a lot that you can do right there on the command line. Now this command prompt, it will look different depending on the setup of your individual machine. Whether you're using a bash shell, a C shell, a Z shell these days, what the permissions are for the user and so forth. So these are some examples of what you might see there at that command prompt, but it's just representing where do you enter in the text or the commands that you're going to use. So let's see. I'm actually going to pull up a command line so we can have this on hand as well. Let's see. Oh. Okay. We'll just show the whole thing. So hopefully you're looking at my desktop at this point. And so on my machine, again, the background is white in this terminal. So as Emily had said, you can find the terminal on a Mac computer by just going and searching for terminal, and it should bring it right up. So, and then here's my command prompt there. And so at this point, we are going to talk about some common commands. So one of the good ones to know is pwd. And I will say that some of these commands make sense. You know, the letters seem to correspond with what you want to do, and some of them seemingly may not be very relevant based on the acronym, but pwd is a good one to know. It stands for Print Working Directory, which always confused me because actually you're printing to the screen. And so I like to think of it as Present Working Directory. So this is where you are working right now. So for example, if you entered in pwd, the command prompt, it might, and then hit enter, you would get a path maybe similar to this. And so if we were to go to this terminal here and enter pwd, it says that I'm in my home directory, which is /users/Mindy22. So this is where I am working at. Whenever you open a new terminal, you will automatically be in your home directory. So that's the place that you will always start from. Okay. So if you have your terminal open, you might want to make sure that you can use that command, just the pwd, and it should return your path to your home directory unless you've moved anywhere. The next command is ls. I like to think of this as list stuff. So this will list on the screen everything that is within that directory that you're working from. So if you type ls at the command prompt, you might get a list of subjects if that's how you're, if you have subjects in that directory, or whatever other directories or files are in there. So just to go back to my terminal here. So if I type ls, it shows all of the different directories and files that happen to be in that directory where I'm working at. So again, if you have your terminal up, I'd encourage you to practice that. Just type ls and so that you can visualize the contents of that directory. There are ways to modify these commands. If you know that you're looking for a certain file or directory, or if you want to show more information of the contents of that directory, you can modify it by adding a little flag to it. So, so again, ls will display all the contents of your directory, both files and subdirectories, executable files, and so forth. And as I mentioned, the directory names will often be written in a different color on some machines, but there, if you don't have that option, if it doesn't automatically show colors for you, you can also use the L flag to list stuff in long format. So if you, instead of just typing ls at the command prompt, you can type ls space -L to show that you want to add the L flag. And this will then list the stuff in your directory in long format. So for example, if on this line, if this were to represent a directory, you'd see a little D here. In this case, there's no D, so you know that this file 1 is a file. And then you'll see a string of up to 9 letters. And this shows you the permissions of who owns that file and what permissions they have. So the RWX, this stands for read, write, and execute permissions. So the owner of this file has read, write, and execute permissions. The group that this person is in has read and write permissions, but not execute permissions. And then everyone else in the world can read that file if they have access to your computer, but they cannot write or execute. So oftentimes you'll also see the owner name, the name of the owner of the file, how large that file is. It may show when it was created or modified. And so it just using the L flag just gives you a lot more information about the contents of that directory. So just try that out here. Instead of just the ls, we'll add the L flag. And now, instead of just the names of the contents, we see more information. You can see fairly easily which of these are directories. And then the ones without the D, these are files. It gives you the permissions of the owner, which is me. As you see, Mendy22, that's me on this computer. And then the permissions of others in the group, if there are any, and then the rest of the world. So we also have how large the contents of each of these are, when it was created, and kind of the timestamp, and then the name of the files as well. So quite a bit more information that you can gain by adding that flag. We'll pause for a moment here. What questions do you have at this point? No questions. All right. Those who have used Linux in the past, how have you used LS in the past? Are there other flags that you've used to modify what you want the output to be?
LS one to have everything in a list is really helpful for me. I use that a lot for making scripts. And it seems like a silly way to take variables and put them in a script, but it's much easier than trying to go through and replacing tabs with new lines and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So in this example, if you were to replace the L with a 1, it will then list everything in a column, which can be helpful for writing scripts. There are also ways to show hidden files. You can replace that L with an A. Sometimes there are files that are hidden. They have a dot in front of them. So again, there are different ways to modify these commands. All right. So the next command that we'll go over is a CD, which means changing directories. So as I mentioned, when you first log in, your present working directory, or the directory where you are working at, is your home directory. So it might say /user/Katie, in my case /user/Mendy22, but it will be your home directory. If you have everything you ever need right there in your home directory, then you won't need to change. But usually people have it organized so that they have subdirectories and they have their information in the different directories that they will need to change into in order to see and work with that information. So the command for this is CD for change directories. And so, for example, if you wanted to go into your data directory and you knew, for example, you typed LS when you first opened the terminal, and you know that you have a data directory right there within that working directory, you could type CD space data, and that would change the present working directory to the data directory. Now, in order to be able to change into a new directory, you need to be able to see it when you use the ls command, or you need to give the full path, the absolute path to where that data directory is. In other words, if you know that you have a data directory somewhere on your machine, but it's not within your home directory when you first log in, you can't just say, I want to change to this data directory that is somewhere on my machine. You need to be able to either see it within your present working directory, or you need to give the full path, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Okay. There are some shorthand symbols that can be helpful when you use the CD command. The slash, so this represents the root directory. 2 dots or 2 periods refers to the parent directory. This is kind of a funny term, but the parent directory just refers to going up one directory from the present working directory. And then a single dot represents the current directory, or the directory where you are currently working. So those are the shorthand symbols. So when we add those to the CD command, if we type CD space slash, this has the effect of changing all the way up to the root directory. If you type CD space ... it will change to the parent directory. So it'll change up one directory from where you're working. If you do CD space dot, you'll stay right where you are. Which you might ask, why would you ever want to do that? I mention it because sometimes as I'm typing along really quickly, I'll forget the second dot. And so I'll just do CD space dot, and then I cannot figure out why did I not go up one directory? Why am I still in the same place? And so anyway, it's because I forgot to do the second dot. Maybe you will never do that, but I just mention it in case that ever happens to you. And then if you just type CD, that will automatically take you to your home directory. So again, when you first open a terminal, you're automatically at your home directory. But if you move around to different directories and you want to quickly go to your home directory, you can just type CD and enter or return, and that will automatically take you there. So it's a quick way to get back to your home base. Okay. So let's go ahead and practice some of these. So I'd encourage you, if you have your terminal open, to practice with some of these combinations of the CD command and the different directories to go to. So for example, again, I'm in my home directory here. If I wanted to quickly go to the root directory at the top of everything, I would just do CD space slash, and that would take me automatically to that root directory. So now I see different contents in that root directory there. I want to go quickly back to my home directory, just CD, and that will take me right back to my home directory. If I want to go up one directory, CD space dot dot. Now I'm in just the users directory there. And if I wanted to stay right where I am, I could just do the CD space dot, and lo and behold, I'm in the same place. So anyway, there's that. Okay. And just so I know, are people practicing as we go through this? It's hard to tell on Zoom if we need time to practice each of these or if we just want to run through the commands quickly. So we have at least one person who's practicing. Okay, great. All right. And I do encourage you to practice this because I think it's easy to run through these commands. And I know when I was first learning, I thought, oh, that makes sense. I got it. And then I went to go do something and I was like, okay, wait, which command do I use and which symbol do I use for this? And so it's as you actually do it that you are better able to recognize what you do feel comfortable with and what you need to practice some more.